Welcome into this week's edition of On the Spot. I'm Tony Mulvey, joined by Donnie Gilbert. Donnie, we've talked about this. Great minds think alike. You can tell I didn't look at any of the charts you put in before I pulled the charts that I did, because we're going to talk about some of the similar stuff that we've been talking about carrier updates this morning. But first, we'll go back to what we talked about yesterday in our carrier updates.
What you're actually doing is actually very good. You're putting it all together here in one show. I do Wednesdays, I do maritime, and then normally on Thursday I do rail, and then Friday I do the wrap up for dry van.
Yeah.
Well, that's the flow of freight. Ocean to rail and truck, but main 6 trains to rail, and then to dry van after that. So we're going to take a look at all that. I'm kind of excited here. What we got here?
Yeah, because I want to look at how peak season's kind of evolving or playing out across various modes. And the first one we're going to look at is our inbound ocean TE volume index. And if you look at the peak, right, August to early October, you can clearly see where we've grown. You see it in previous years, notably 2020, you can see that peak. But what happens after that? And we look at volumes here, and they're relatively healthy, right? We're above the previous 3 years. Yeah, we took a little bit of a downturn in the last couple of days, but overall, the recovery from the Golden Week holiday, which is what that big dip there in the middle of October is for, the recovery has been fairly healthy, which is a positive if you look up or down further downstream to domestic freight movements, because eventually this translates into that. I mean, what are your thoughts when you look at this?
This is what scares me.
Lunar New Year?
Well, the lead in and this drop, this being the 1st of January, we're going to see volumes start to drop here. And then, now this is a holiday, so this bump is a little bit of a pull forward, and then the recovery afterwards, because of what didn't ship, they're going to ship it quickly afterwards. But this drop in volumes compared to where we are ending the year, this is going to be about 45 to 60 days ahead of the freight market. So this is going to, depending on how much we drop down this January and February, that's going to hurt March, April, May, or into February, March. And those are some tough months sometimes until we kind of get in that produce season starting to kick off, a little bit later in May and June.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is my biggest, and it's a concern every year, Tony. You see everything. Everybody spends their money for Christmas.
Yeah, that's what this is.
Yeah, January and February are always tough months, but we got to finish strong first. If we don't finish strong,
I mean, if you look at every year, you see that upward movement in December, and then it falls off in January.
If we don't finish strong, this could be worse for 2024.
Yeah, even though right now things appear better, it could start the year worse depending on how the next 3 weeks really plays out. Now, we go to the rail, similar story. It's holding up relatively well. You look at the peak, and, well, it's more of a defined peak. You can really see it versus the ocean that was this prolonged. I mean, you're seeing it again, another market that's relatively healthy from a demand perspective.
The rail is mainly contract. Just so, I mean, for your big fleet companies,
it's 6-7% contract. I mean, you look at rejection rates in intermodal, and they're about 1%.
But this is their regular business. This keeps them keeping the doors open, paying the bills. And then as the market tightens up, they'll offer out options, whether it be like we saw, dropping the rates to fight it, and they're going to pick up some of this extra business. And like we said, we saw them drop their rates back in August. They wanted to fight in. Now, they're running a train already. It's scheduled. Well, if they can add on 10, 15, 20 cars, double stacking, and add some revenue to that one train, that's just going to be gravy on top, because the cost is pretty much the same to run that train.
Yep, absolutely.
And they fight in for this freight.
Yeah, and we saw this really peak out end of October. We saw another upward move there in the middle of November. Now let's go, what's happening in the truckload market from a demand perspective? We're actually above where we were last year. We're seeing the starts of the declines that you normally see in December. I mean, you can see it in every year. December is the softest month from a demand perspective. In truckload, under contract, I think that's the key, is normally you see spot market activity pick up in the month, and that's what the peak really is.
Right now is where we're going to see contract or spot market pick up, because we're getting so close to Christmas, and these are going to be items that maybe came in on the boat late.
Yeah.
Probably because they were ordered late.
Yeah.
And it gets to the port and it gets released, and they're like, we need a team, or we need a solo, we need to get it moving right now. And it's going to go either directly to their stores or maybe their warehouse, but they're going to get on and get it moving. So we're going to see spot rates pick up. But their contract, they needed to get everything to the store here.
Yeah. We saw
in
volumes actually not that strong in October.
They picked up before, and I believe this was because everybody was starting their Black Friday sales way early.
Yeah.
So they got it moved there before. And once all that stuff gets to their DCs and their DCs get filled up, their stores get filled up.
They don't have to move anything.
It's just maybe some restocking.
Yeah.
And then of course, once we get past Christmas, everybody spent all their money and they're going to save January and February.
Yeah, I want to hit these next two charts real quick. The first one being rejection rates. You just really haven't seen any reaction kind of at all. I mean, we're down at 3.73%. This is where we would talk about spot market activity. It just kind of shows that anything that's being under contract is being accepted by that first carrier, and there's not a whole lot of activity.
Diesel fuel.
Yeah, well, that too. But also, spot rates, I have the forecast brought up here to see where we're going. This is what you were talking about. This is where the spot market picks up. The rates start moving higher. I mean, we're looking at a forecast increase of what, 25 cents over the next 28 days? That's a positive sign if you're a carrier. You just have to be out in the market and hope that this can maintain into next year.
Yes, but how many times have we seen on our lanes of the day where spot market is 50 cents to $1 lower than contract?
Very true.
That's why rejection rates aren't going to go up.
Absolutely. Well, Donnie, thank you so much for joining me on this week's edition of On the Spot. Right now, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more Freight Waves now.